So, here in VR, we do not show our real world forms. Maybe one day we will, but right now we don't. We use avatars. And the interesting thing about virtual reality is we get to choose what we look like. We can be anything we want to be: a robot, a furry, a toothbrush with a face. And what's kind of strange is that these avatars are often less human than we are, but somehow they're not harder to relate to. If anything, they're easier. More and more, we're finding that the connection in VR doesn't come from realism, it comes from expression. You can relate to a robot with glowing eyes. You can relate to a stylized anime avatar. You can relate to something that, biologically speaking, shouldn't even register as human at all. And there are many users who choose avatars like that. But then also, there are the almost humans. The beautiful blushing e-girl with big beautiful eyes, the catboy with feline ears, avatars that are clearly not real but feel emotionally readable nonetheless. Spend enough time in VR and something interesting happens. You may actually start to prefer this, not because it's more realistic, but because it's just more comfortable. But there is a line, and that line is very real, and I can tell you exactly where that line is. It's called the Uncanny Valley. So, what's the Uncanny Valley? Well, most people have heard the term, but few can explain it clearly. Here it is. Take a look at the graph. Human likeness measured at the bottom axis, and how much you can relate to it is measured on the side axis. You can start over here with something like a brick, a human likeness of near zero. Something like that is hard to relate to. And then, as you start getting closer and closer to human, you start getting something that's more and more relatable. A bunny rabbit doll, a toy robot, maybe even a cute male cat-like avatar. And then, all the way over here, a normal, healthy person. So you can see, as something becomes more and more human in appearance and behavior, our comfort with it increases. We relate to it more, we trust it more, but only up to a point, because when something becomes almost human but not quite, something breaks. It starts feeling wrong. Its smile feels off. Its movements feel unnatural. And instead of feeling comfort, we start feeling unease, sometimes even fear. That drop, that sudden emotional rejection, that's the valley. That's where we find things like the ventriloquist dummy. That's where we find mannequins and clowns. But then, after that, once we get past the valley, something close to real human, that's where we climb back out again. So that's describing it, but why do we fear it? That's the real question. Because most fears we have are not random. They exist for a reason. We're afraid of spiders because some spiders can kill us. We're afraid of snakes because some snakes are dangerous. Those fears are in us because they offer what's known as selective advantage. They have been bred into us. That's what's kept our ancestors alive. So then, what about this? Why would we evolve a fear of something that looks almost human but not quite? What's the survival benefit of that? Where is the selective advantage to that, and why would it be there? Well, there's possibly a very ancient explanation to this. There's a theory, hear me out. Sometime between 15,000 to 40,000 years ago, modern humans were not alone. We shared this planet with other human species. There was us, Homo sapiens, but there was also Neanderthals and Denisovans, and maybe even Homo florensis. Those are the little hobbit people that a lot of anthropologists have been talking about lately, in case you've never heard of them. At least 4 types of humans sharing the planet at the same time. Not like today where there's only one. There's only one type of human walking the planet today. Every race, color, and creed among us, we are all the same. We are all the same type of human. But it wasn't always like that. Picture this, 4 very different types of humans at the same time, likely interacting but probably not in a good way. They looked similar but still very different, close enough to be recognized as human but clearly not the same. What would it be like for a human like us to come face to face with a Denisovan? What would it be like for a Neanderthal to come face to face with a 3-foot-tall Homo florensis? And what would be the result? Probably nothing good, right? Most of these interactions were probably very bad, and because of that, over the generations, instinctual fear was likely the result. There was selective advantage to being afraid, so it stuck. And that reaction may still be with us today, not because of robots or mannequins or ventriloquist dummies. Those are all the things that many people are commonly afraid of today, but those are all new things. But these fears come from an ancient place, something much older. Think about the things that trigger this feeling today. Mannequins, ventriloquist dummies, animatronic faces, and clowns. All of them share something in common. They look somewhat human like you, but something slightly wrong, and your brain picks up on that instantly. So picture this for a moment. You're a Homo sapien child 40,000 years ago, and you wander off a bit from where your tribe has set up their hunting camp over there. And you're just kind of doing your own thing, but then you look over there, and you see something in the bushes. Or wait, is that someone? And they're looking back at you, but their eyes just aren't right. They're even smiling, but their smile just isn't right. And now, they're motioning you to come closer. That is the source of the Uncanny Valley. That is where the fear of this comes from. A lot of evidence shows that these 4 different types of humans did not interact well. A lot of evidence shows that they likely even hunted each other when an easy opportunity presented itself. That is why you are afraid of this. So anyway, what does any of this have to do with virtual reality? Well, it means that VR exists in a very interesting space because most avatars are safely on the left side of the Uncanny Valley. Stylized, exaggerated, clearly not real, and because of that, we're comfortable. We relate to them easily, we can connect to them more freely. Avatars like mine, they're human enough to read emotion, but not so human that they fall into the valley. Not so close that something feels wrong. Not so close to those ancient red flag triggers. But as technology improves, this line is going to matter more and more. Because VR is slowly moving toward realism, more detailed faces, better eye tracking, more accurate expression. And at some point, we're going to start brushing up against that valley. Or we're going to leap right over it. And what if we can leap over it? What happens then? What happens then? Do we push through the valley toward perfect realism? A world where avatars are indistinguishable from real people? Would anyone even want that? Honestly, I don't think so. Or do we stay on the left side of the valley, where identity is flexible, where we're not limited to human forms, where we're becoming something else entirely? Because in a strange way, VR might not be pulling us toward hyper-realism. It might be offering us a far more rare opportunity. An opportunity to appear as something other than human, but in a good way. And maybe that's the real direction that all of this is heading, not toward becoming perfect copies of ourselves, but toward becoming better representations of how we feel. Because when you strip away the skin and the bone and the biology, what you're left with is expression. And expression is what we actually connect to. The Uncanny graph shows us that connection was never about realism. It was always about recognition. And maybe that's the strange truth behind all of this. The Uncanny Valley is a reminder that looking human is not the same as being understood. And virtual reality might be the first place where we finally move past that. Not by appearing more human, but by becoming something more honest, something deliberate, which ironically might be something more us. I don't know. What do you think? Drop a comment below. So anyway, if you want to see more videos, then do me a favor. Like, comment, subscribe, and go ahead and hit the notification bell. All of those things help push my video in the algorithm. Also, go ahead and join my Discord server. The link for that's down below. In the meantime, I want to thank you for joining me. I am Kinetic, and I'll see you next time.